A Pokemon Nuzlocke is a challenge where I add rules to a typical Pokemon playthrough to make it a little bit harder. I can't revive my Pokemon if they faint, no items like X items or potions in battle, and I can only catch one Pokemon per area like a route or a city. Today, I'm gonna beat Pokemon Ruby using only flying type Pokemon. There's tons of encounters for us in this run, and I'm sure this is gonna be super easy, right? Here's a quick reminder that Gen 3 doesn't have the physical special split, and let's get into it. I hope someone remembers I'm in here. They will, right? Welcome to Little Root Town, the start of our Pokemon Ruby journey. After setting the time on our clock, changing the border of text boxes to a non-distracting pattern, we save Professor Elm from the very thing he's supposed to be an expert in, and then we get gifted our starter as a reward. I'm just saying there was more in your wallet if I kept it. Since none of the starters become a flying type, because you know, the title of the video, we gotta go catch a real starter. On Route 101, we grab a Wurmple named Emirates, who may or may not evolve into an eligible encounter for us. If it evolves into a Cascoon, we'll have to re-roll it since Dustox isn't a flying type. Well, okay, fine. I like this version of Emirates better. Fuck you. With a quick evolution into Silcoon, then into the flying type Beautifly, we've got a usable Pokemon on our team. We get another pretty quickly on Route 103 after catching a Wingull named Westjet. Then on Route 102, it's a lot less quick. Surskit is a 1% encounter here, and since it evolves into the part flying type Masquerain, that's my property. 1% odds aren't awesome for us, and honestly, it might have been like 0.1% odds, because I watched all of Men in Black while trying to get this. I rolled 174 encounters for this Blunt Bangs bug. You better do something for me. Petalburg City is gonna be brought up later, don't get greedy. Then we head to Route 104 and grab our fourth Pokemon before the first gym. Japan, the Talo. Look at their logo, come on, a red bird, it's perfectly fitting. Why am I pre-arguing in the comments already? God. After a quick trip through the Petalburg Woods, we arrive in Rustboro City, home of the first gym. Somehow we're still not done catching encounters, so on Route 116, we find and catch an Incada named Wiz. He can't join the team until he evolves at level 20, so we'll have to wait a little bit until the fastest Pokemon in the game joins our team. I have a feeling we're not going to need it for this upcoming battle though, so let's go take on Gym Leader Roxanne and her rock types for our first battle of the run. Roxanne leads with Geodude and I lead with Wingull. Since he's a water type, we can pretty easily outspeed and get ourselves the first KO of the battle with a 4 times super effective water gun. That leaves Roxanne with only her ace, Nose Pass, and our flying type is faster here. So we connect with a water gun that drops the pure rock type to just above half before it responds with a Harden, which is doing nothing. Bro, I'm using water moves, they're special. Another water gun can't quite get us a KO, leaving Nose Pass in the red, and then Roxanne finally wakes up, using a super effective Rock Tomb that drops Wingull down to 7 HP before our Oran Berry recovery. It also dropped our speed by 1 stage, so after Roxanne tries to use a potion to swing the battle in her favor, if Wingull isn't faster after the drop, this battle's over, but Wingull still outspeeds, firing off one last water gun for the KO. That's Roxanne down, and we're gonna keep moving on through the early game of this run. Before we can even go to the Pokemon Center, Team Magma jumps a little old random Devon Corp employee. Come on, you're a grown-ass man, you let that guy beat you? Anyway, we got the goods. What the fuck is this, New York? Hey, give me the goods. After we unpack our brand new Pokenav, Mr. Briny sails us to Dewford Town, home of gym number 2 of Hoenn. Before that, we chat with this rich boy for a free silk scarf, all the rage. Then this fisherman gives us his old rod, Pause. That opens up a new encounter for us, so by fishing in Dewford, we find and catch a Magikarp named Eurowings. Gyarados is a pretty unique flying type since it doesn't learn any flying type moves, and it's also mainly a physical attacker, so of course mine is a plus special attack nature, obviously. We still aren't done encounter hunting yet, so after we explore the Granite Cave, we find and catch a Zubat named United, because clearly United is the nicest airline, right guys? Right? After delivering the letter to Steven, it's time for another gym, and since the last one wasn't a great type matchup for us, we're rewarded with a fighting type gym for number 2, so let's go take down Brawly for that second gym badge. Brawly leads with Machop, and I lead with Beautifly. We outspeed and fire off a super effective Gust, bringing Machop down to the yellow, then Brawly's lead uses a Leer, dropping our defense by 1. I mean, that's not gonna help you survive another Gust, but good try. That leaves Dewford's gym leader with only his ace Makuhita left, but it's not looking too good for him. Our next Gust drops Makuhita down to the yellow, and hopefully it can take advantage of that defense drop that its partner just got. Dude, come on, at least try to win. One more gust takes down Brawly's final Pokemon, and just like that, we've got our second badge of Hoenn. I bet the next one's going to be just as easy, right? Right? Now that we're done in Dewford, Mr. Briny gives us a ride to Slateport, a broke-ass city with no gym. Come on guys, you need like a main attraction. We take down some Magma grunts, obviously, get the fuck out of here. Now we can continue our gym challenge. We head through Route 110, taking down May and her Marshtomp in the process, and now we're in Mauville City, home of the third gym. We get tons of new team members here, like Magikarp evolving into Gyarados, Nincada evolving into Ninjask, Surskit evolving into Masquerain, Tailo evolving into Swellow, and Zubat evolving into Golbat and then into Crobat. Electric is super effective against our flying types, which isn't awesome, so I'm really hoping that these evolutions and some special sauce from the game corner will be enough to make up for that type advantage. So let's go challenge Watson for our third gym badge. Watson leads with Magnemite and I lead with Gyarados. This might seem like a weird choice, but remember when I said my Magikarp was a plus special attack nature? Well, it's actually going to come in handy for us, since with help from the Flamethrower TM from the game corner, our water flying type can get a KO on Watson's electric type lead. We level up to 24, which is allowed in my rule set because we started the battle at 23, and second up is Voltorb. I swapped to Beautifly to start whittling down Watson's second Pokemon. Well, that works for me. Beautifly actually survived too, what a tank. That leaves Watson with only his ace left, Magneton. I need a clean swap here, so we're going to say goodbye to our first encounter as she falls to a super effective Shockwave. Now we can bring in Ninjask for free, and her entire job is to fire off one Screech to drop Magneton's defense by 2 before Watson brings down our second Pokemon of the battle. I send Masquerain out now, and here's the plan. I need enough chip damage so that Gyarados can come in and get a KO with Flamethrower. We probably survive one Shockwave, and then we can get a quick attack in 2 to make use of that Screech from earlier. Magneton uses Supersonic on the first turn, confusing Masquerain and making this a little sketchier than it already was, but thankfully he breaks through and connects with an Ice Beam. Watson's ace goes for Thunder Wave to paralyze us now, but our held Cherry Berry cures it, giving us a free turn to hit another Ice Beam, getting even more important chip damage. It looks like Magneton really isn't seeing any kills here, since it uses Sonic Boom for the guaranteed 20 damage on the next turn. Then our third Ice Beam brings Watson's ace to almost half HP. I think our job is done, so when Magneton takes down our third Pokemon of the battle, I'm feeling pretty confident. Gyarados comes out, intimidating the special attacker, and now the entire run comes down to this. Is Flamethrower going to be enough damage? We fire off one, get it? We fire it off because it's a fire type move. Sorry, this is supposed to be dramatic. And it brings down Magneton. With that, we've beaten the electric type gym leader in a flying type only Nuzlocke, and somehow we're still alive in this run. We even get to keep our 3 best Pokemon. This is a win in my books. Our team might have been massacred in the last battle, but we're still moving forward in this run. Wingull, who was chilling in the box for the last gym battle, evolves into Pelipper now, learning Protect and netting us a potential Norm encounter later on. We head through a few routes that have like no trainers on them. I guess they added a bunch in Emerald. Then on Route 113, we find and catch a Skarmory named Southwest. This Pokemon is a little broken, to say the least. Check out my Pokemon Moon Steel types only run if you haven't. So I'm really excited to have this on my team again. Fall Arbor Town, the place I would never live unless you love sweeping. Like seriously, I lose my mind sweeping ash off my porch like 3 times a day. There's not a lot to do here except for leaving, so we head along Route 114, grabbing a Swablu named Allegiant along the way, then arriving in Meteor Falls. Team Magma are bragging about stealing from Dr. Cosmo, like bro, come on. I bet my nephew could steal from this fucking Poindexter, but we've still gotta clean up this mess. On top of Mount Chimney, we take down both Admin Tabitha and Leader Maxie, mostly thanks to our 2 water types kind of rolling through their fire ground types. We grab the Meteorite from this pedestal, which you can actually trade for the Return TM in Fall Arbor if you didn't know. Then we hop down some ledges to Lava Ridge Town, home of the 4th gym. We take a breather with this old man, weather's great, isn't it? Then we lock back in just in time for our next gym battle against Flannery and her fire types. Flannery leads with Slugma and I lead with Pelipper. We outspeed and fire off a water gun that doesn't get a KO. Okay, Slugma the bulky queen, I guess. Lucky for us, it did just fire off a Smog instead of setting up the sun. So after Flannery heals up with a Hyper Potion, we fire off another water gun that still leaves Slugma with a Sliver. I guess it really wasn't a roll. On the next turn, Slugma finally goes down and Flannery sends out her second Pokemon. Slugma. Really? Again? Well, fine. After Pelipper fires off a water gun, leaving Slugma dead, apparently, so it was a roll. I can't keep doing this, Flannery. Stop playing with my feelings. That leaves the Lava Ridge gym leader with only her ace, the super threatening Torkoal. A water gun brings Torkoal to just above half, then it uses Attract, causing a super cool status condition that I like to call, bro, this is so fucking stupid, just fucking attack it. I don't really feel like rolling the dice on this one, so I swap out to Gyarados on a Body Slam. That obviously paralyzes me. I still want some damage here, so after Torkoal outspeeds us and uses Attract again, Gyarados gets fully paralyzed. God, I love this game. I bring Pelipper back in on a Body Slam for like a third. That doesn't paralyze me, thank God. Then on the next turn, a Water Gun knocks Flannery's ace to the red. It also just Body Slammed instead of attracting again, so that means when Flannery uses her second Hyper Potion, Pelipper can bring Torkoal back to above half without risking any Attract shenanigans. Another fast Water Gun brings Torkoal down to the yellow, and then we're back to Attract. I swap to Crobat because Gyarados is paralyzed, and he takes a Flail for 22 damage. We outspeed it and hit a Bite, and it does about half of Torkoal's remaining HP. That means all we've got to do is tank another Flail, and let's all calm down. Everyone, breathe. I swap to Gyarados, who tanks a Body Slam for some solid damage, but our held Oranberry gets us a bit of that HP back. Torkoal opts to use Flail instead of Attract hacks, thank God. So after we tank it, Gyarados can break through paralysis and connect with the Dragon Rage to bring down Torkoal and finally win us our 4th gym badge of the run. That took a while, but I love not risking any crits in a fight. Now that we've got half our gym badges, bro, I'm monologuing. Wait your turn, Jesus. After that interruption, it's time to head back to finally face off against our dad. The backtrack is really fun and cool, and it doesn't take too long at all. But eventually we get back to Petalburg, ready to take revenge for our mom after that affair back in 08. Norman leads with Slaking and I lead with Gyarados. Our Intimidate ability comes in handy here, dropping Slaking's attack because what do you mean 160 base stat? Since it also has 100 defense, I opt to go for the consistent 40 damage of Dragon Rage, which looks like slightly less than a third. Then Slaking fires off a Stab Facade, which does about a third to me. We Dragon Rage again on the next turn, dropping Slaking to the yellow as it loafs around, a side effect of its Truant ability. I try to use Bite on the next turn to try to avoid Norman using a heal, but that's way too much damage. I'll fast forward here, I just kind of spam Dragon Rage until Slaking goes down. It does hit another Facade on Gyarados in the process though, but we weren't at any risk. We level up to 32, again, a lot of my rule set, and second up for our dad is Vigoroth, Slaking's pre-evolution. I swap to Crobat, and he takes a slash for... Okay, buddy, let's all calm down. We shouldn't die to a crit, plus when do back-to-back crit happens, right? So I stay in and hit a wing attack for about a third before a Stab Slash brings our poison type down to 28 HP. He's done enough for this battle, so I swap out to Skarmory, who resists all of Vigoroth's moves, including the incoming slash that he only takes 8 damage from. I'm going to fast forward again, mostly because we're just doing no damage to each other and it takes like 6 turns, so you're welcome, by the way. Say it. Come on, go ahead. That leaves Norman with only his ace left, another Slaking, this time at level 31. I need to tank an attack here so I can swap on its loafing turn, so Skarmory stays in and tanks a resisted Facade super well. Then an Air Cutter connects for a tiny amount of damage. I use this chance to bring in Pelipper for free on a loafing turn, and now we can abuse Slaking's ability just to kind of win the battle. By using Protect on the turns it attacks and attacking when it loafs around, Pelipper can just kind of avoid all damage entirely and slowly chip it down with wing attacks. We're also holding a Lepa Berry, which restores the PP of a move if one runs out, so we've got 20 Protect PP to work with. I do make a bit of a mistake after Norman heals, because I wasn't sure if the Hyper Potion skipped its attacking turn or not, so I protected on a loafing turn. So I've got to avoid letting Pelipper eat a Facade, and a quick swap to Skarmory bails me out, since we were never dead to a critical hit. Then I bring Pelipper back in to finish the job. I kinda accidentally almost threw the entire run by spamming A too fast, and I accidentally used Wing Attack instead of Protect on an attacking turn, and it didn't scare me at all. A few more turns and Slaking finally goes down, and we've taken down Norman for our 5th gym badge of the run. Lots of stalling, but I'll try to avoid that for the rest of the run if I can. Once we leave the gym, we go meet Wally's dad, who gives us the HM for Surf, not a bribe by the way. Then we can cancel our plans to go beat up Wally to surf across Route 118, not a bribe by the way. We meet Steven again. What color was the TV when you were a kid? Then we grab citrus berries before heading through Route 119 and grabbing another encounter, a Tropius named Ryan Air. Now, I'm not European, but all I know is that it's a budget airline that people like to complain about, and I think Tropius fits that to a T. Weather Institute, more like Weather in Stupid, right? God fucking damn. May tries to battle us again. Get the fuck out of here. Then we arrive in Four Tree City, which kind of reminds me of that one city in Avatar where the gang meets Jet and his crew. You know what I mean? Steven gives us some proprietary government tech to exterminate Kecleons, which opens a clear path for us to skip out on some subway fares and challenge the flying type master of Hoenn, Winona. Winona leads with Swellow, and I lead with my Swellow, but mine is pre-poisoned. Who's going to win this mirror matchup? It's me. I am, obviously. We can take advantage of our Guts ability here to boost our attack with a status condition, and the Facade TM that we got from Norman that has 140 base power when you have a status, so Swellow can easily outspeed and bring down Winona's lead. Second up is Pelipper, but since I literally have one of these on my team, I know that Facade will get a pretty easy one-shot KO here. Just like that, Winona only has 2 Pokemon left, and the first of those is her own Skarmory. We stay in and use another Facade, but since it's resisted, Skarmory still got a bit over half HP left. It only used Sand Attack in return, but that shouldn't really be a problem, since on the next turn, I swap out to Gyarados, who tanks a resisted Steel Wing for 7 damage. From here, we outspeed and fire off a super effective Flamethrower, bringing down Winona's 3rd Pokemon and leaving her with only her ace, Altaria. It outspeeds and hits a pretty underwhelming Dragon Breath, then we respond with a Dragon Rage, doing the very consistent 40 damage. We repeat this on the next turn, our held Citrus Berry activates, and surprisingly, Winona heals from this rage with a Hyper Potion. We still do almost half with the Dragon Rage, but that's good to know. Altaria seems to be tired of doing no damage, so it uses Dragon Dance to boost its attack on the next turn, but Dragon is a special type in this game, so it's not going to be that useful. We knock it down back to the yellow with another Dragon Rage, and it seems like the perfect time to bring in my wild card. I swap in Pelipper as Winona heals for the 2nd time, Altaria outspeeds and hits an Aerial Ace for like a 3rd, then we fire off a 4 times super effective Ice Beam, and that secures us the one-shot KO on... Come on, man. Don't ruin my script like that. Well, Altaria Dragon Dances again for no reason on the next turn, then Pelipper just kind of finishes it off. But like, it's just not the same, man. Thanks for the badge, I guess. 6 badges, 6 figures, 6 feet tall. What else could someone need? Well, I guess I forgot to say Route 120 and 121 are irrelevant, so after we set a new mile PR going through it, we witnessed Team Magma going to Mount Pyre. We may have a new goal now, but before we do that, we have to make a little detour. We reach Lily Cove City, mostly so I can fly back here later. Then we grab the Pokeblock case in Slateport before heading to the Safari Zone. Here we can head straight to Area 4. I have the fucking Mach Bike. Now we can head straight to Area 4, throw a ball at a Phanpy by accident, then we find our next encounter, a Xatu named Canada. Unfortunately, Hoenn's late game isn't super great for my Psychic Flying type, but I'm still going to take one of my favorite Pokemon. Shout out my X-Only run, Xatu is a beast. Mount Pyre doesn't feature a battle, which I could have sworn it did, maybe I'm too ROM hack pilled. Then we surf off the coast of Lily Cove to the Magma hideout, grabbing the Master Ball and taking care of Tabitha pretty easily. Now there's nothing standing in our way of surfing in a straight line, all the way to Moss Deep City, home of the 7th gym that I'm sure has a perfectly normal amount of Pokemon. Right guys? Right? It has like 4 or 5, right? Like a regular amount for a late game, right? I should just go see for myself? Okay, well, let's go take on the Psychic Twins of Moss Deep then, Tate and Liza. Tate and Liza lead with Solrock and Lunatone, and I lead with Pelipper and Gyarados. My plan here is to just spam Surf until they punish me, so Gyarados fires off our first Surf, hitting both of the twins' rock types, doing a little bit less than half to each. Then Lunatone sets up its special stats with Calm Mind, then Solrock sets up Sunny Day. This reduces the power of water moves, so when Pelipper finally gets to use his Surf, it does a lot less than I wanted. We still aren't done surfing yet though, so Gyarados goes first, firing off another and knocking Solrock into the red. It responds by hitting a pretty strong Psychic into Pelipper, dropping its special defense. Then Lunatone puts Gyarados to sleep with Hypnosis before our 4th surf of the battle brings Lunatone low and finishes off Solrock. That sends out... Wait, that's all they have? Only 2 Pokemon. Really? Well, okay, I guess this is a 2v1 now. I swap Pelipper out for Tropius, and he tanks a Psychic for over half, meaning a crit actually would have KO'd here. I'm going to choose to ignore that, since after Gyarados stayed asleep for a turn, our part Grass type can make use of his Chlorophyll ability that boosts his speed in the sun, and fire off a super effective 1-turn Solar Beam to bring down the final Pokemon of the battle. That's our 7th gym badge, and we only KO'd 2 Pokemon, the same as Roxanne and Brawly. Come on guys, step it up. Leaving the gym, I head straight to Steven's house, get the Dive HM, and then immediately head underwater to dodge all the optional trainers. I don't have time for that. I'm going on vacation in like 3 days. I hope you guys are seeing this video on time. You are, right? Can anyone hear me? Anyone? What if I'm just shouting into the void and no one's listening or cares about me or what I have to say and oh shit, we're here. Awesome. I honestly wish I could say that our final battle with Maxi was eventful, but honestly, the Earthquake TM that we got is probably more important. The charismatic leader of Team Magma fails a simple color matching game, and now there's a breaking weather report. This just in, it is sunny everywhere. Like, I didn't think this was possible, but oh god, it is literally sunny everywhere, even in Seattle. We've got to stop this for the sake of sunburn victims everywhere, so let's dive down to Sootopolis City and take on the legendary Pokemon Groudon in an epic battle, one that will be written in history books, and every year on the 14th of July, we'll celebrate P-Day, we'll work on that name, and it'll be the celebration of when he beat... Oh, well, that was anticlimactic. World saved, simple children's puzzle solved, yes, solved, okay, good job. Now let's take down the future champion of Hoenn, Wallace. Wallace leads with Love Disc and I lead with Skarmory. An Air Cutter does a bit less than half, then a neutral Water Pulse does a bit of damage to our Steel type. With that chip down, it's time to start the strat. I start setting up layers of spikes on the next turn, as Love Disc uses a neutral flail for like no damage. Spikes are an entry hazard that you can set up to do damage to your opponent's Pokemon when they switch in. You can set up 3 layers of spikes, with each layer doing a bit more damage. After getting these 3 layers up, I do a bit more damage to Love Disc with Air Cutter, bring Love Disc down to the red while we're at like 3/4. Since I know Wallace is going to heal now, I get a free swap into Swellow, who's got a pre-burn. Yep, we are taking advantage of Guts Facade again. So that's a free KO with the 140 base power Facade. Second up is Celio, who stands no chance against us after losing 25% to the spikes damage. Third up is Milotic, who's the main reason we set up the spikes in the first place. It's a little too bulky to get one shot by Facade, but since it starts with 75% of HP, Swellow can just continue the sweep. Fourth up is Wishcash, who normally gets countered by a grass type, but I'm using my normal flying type instead. Another quick KO right there, and that leaves the Sootopolis City Gym Leader with only his Sea King left. And since there's no rain to activate its Swift Swim, Swellow easily outspeeds and finishes off the final Pokemon of this battle. That's a clean sweep for Swellow, and we've collected 8 badges of Hoenn. Let's keep this going. So, this one's for the dedicated viewers out there. I'm sure you're all probably thinking the same thing. Time for P to skip the entire Victory Road section because he's tired of writing the script. First of all, you don't know that's why I skip it. That's a pretty good guess, but we have the Waterfall HM now, and that actually opens up one final encounter for us. By flying back to Fall Arbor and making the trek to Meteor Falls, we're rewarded with the pseudo-legendary of Hoenn, Bagon. After force feeding it some rare candies, we get ourselves a shiny new Salamence to help our team out for the Elite Four. Evergrande City, well, at least the first half of it. If this was Arcane, this would be like the Undercity half, since there's like only a waterfall here. These citizens need support, guys. There's a Wally fight at the end of Victory Road with a scary Magneton, but with 2 dragon types to make electric moves neutral now, it's not that much of an issue. Welcome to the Pokemon League, where we've got to make a tough choice on who's coming to this Elite Four gauntlet. I feel like there's 4 obvious choices, and then it gets a little bit fuzzy. Gyarados, Salamence, Swellow, and Skarmory are all locks for this squad. Gyarados has coverage and intimidate, Salamence has the highest stats on our entire team, Swellow, who's going to be pre-burned by the way, provides insane damage, and Skarmory is a stall machine. Our 5th choice is going to be Altaria, who seems redundant since I already have a dragon type on the team, but he's really bulky and has access to Perish Song, which can bail us out of sticky situations. That leaves us with one final slot to fill, and this might be a little weird, but it's going to be Pelipper. I think we'll need some help against Glacia's ice types, so I'm going to keep the ice type neutrality around. Can this team of 6 flying types take down the entire Hoenn Elite Four? Let's find out. The first Elite Four member we've got to take on is Sydney and his dark types. He leads with Mightyena and I lead with Skarmory. Intimidate drops our attack, but Skarmory isn't a heavy hitter anyway, so it's fine. We set up the first layer of spikes as Mightyena uses a sand attack, dropping our accuracy. That's also fine because Spikes is a status move that can't miss, so we set up a second layer as Mightyena connects with a resisted crunch for some pretty light damage. We just do the first turn, but again now, getting our 3rd layer of spikes up to 25% damage on entry, while a sand attack drops our accuracy again. I kind of want a safe swap here, so I want to force Sydney to use a full restore. Unfortunately for us, those accuracy drops waste a ton of time and Skarmory literally can't buy damage on this thing. So I cut my losses and swap into Salamence, making his video debut and tanking a crunch in the process. We outspeed and fire off a Dragon Claw that gets a KO. Really? Just like that? Come on, man. Well, second is Cacturne, and we're really not going to instantly one-shot this one too, right? Good. Now that Sydney is going to heal, I take my chance to bring in pre-burned Swellow, and it's time to get this party started. Facade makes pretty quick work of Cacturne, Sharpedo, and Absol. Then when Sydney is down to just Shiftry left, its priority fake out kinda gives me a mini heart attack. But on the next turn, Swellow just finishes it off with another Facade. That's 1 of 4 down, and I'd love if Swellow could just sweep all the battles. Why don't we just do that? Phoebe and her ghost types are second up for us, and this one might be a little tough. She leads with Dusclops and I lead with Skarmory. We set up a layer of spikes on the first turn, then it connects with a Confuse Ray, making this matchup a lot less consistent. We do break through in the next turn, setting up our second layer as Dusclops uses Curse, which cuts its own HP in half, but drops our HP by a quarter every single turn until I switch out. I don't really want to deal with that, so I swap into Swellow to dodge the incoming Shadow Punch that she's immune to. I'm hoping Guts Boosted Aerial Ace can just get a KO at half HP here, but it just barely misses the KO as Dusclops uses Future Sight, which is a move that'll deal damage in a couple of turns. Since Phoebe's gonna heal, I swap back to Skarmory to finish getting the spikes up, which we do on the next turn as Dusclops uses another Curse, basically wasting the full restore that Phoebe just used. Skarmory does lose like a quarter and also tanks the Future Sight from earlier, so we're really low HP. The best thing now is obviously Protect. Yeah, honestly, I have no idea what I was thinking there. Curse just barely doesn't KO our Steel type, so I swap out to Salamence on the next turn, taking a pretty light Shadow Punch coming in. On the next turn, we connect with a critical hit Dragon Claw, taking down Phoebe's lead that she replaces with another Dusclops second, but this one is her ace. Salamence takes the Future Sight damage, and then I swap out to Gyarados on the incoming Ice Beam for pretty light damage. A Surf knocks Phoebe's ace down to below half, then a Confuse Ray puts a bit of pressure on me to swap, especially after the Citrus Berry gets Dusclops some nice recovery. I'm not too worried because even after we hit ourselves in confusion, we're still pretty healthy after tanking a weak Ice Beam. On the next turn, Gyarados hits himself again, okay. Then Dusclops fires off a neutral Shadow Ball that gets a critical hit and brings down my Water type. Fuck. Well, that's not very good for my Glacia matchup. I bring in Pelipper now, and we connect with a Surf, knocking Dusclops to the yellow before a neutral Ice Beam does like 30 damage. One more Surf finishes off Gyarados' killer, and third up is Banette. It outspeeds and uses Spite, dropping that PP of Surf before we connect with one, bringing Banette to the red. We're still super healthy, so Pelipper can stay in here, tank a Shadow Ball, another crit, okay, let's all chill out. Surf finishes off Banette, and Phoebe sends out Sableye fourth. Pelipper gets a little bit of HP back with the Citrus Berry, but I still can't stay in. So after I Protect to scout out the Attract, I swap to Swellow, who's immune. Guts Boosted Aerial Ace doesn't KO. I can't buy a KO this battle. Then a Feint Attack from Sableye knocks us into Citrus Berry range, but we're still safe for now. Even after a full restore, one more Aerial Ace gets a KO after a critical hit, and Phoebe is down to her final Pokemon, her other Banette. I swap to Altaria here, who tanks the incoming Psychic really well, and this secures the battle for us. We outspeed and use Perish Song, which causes all Pokemon on the field to faint in 3 turns if they don't switch out. Since Phoebe has nothing left to switch to, Banette is guaranteed to die in 3 turns. Altaria does finish it off before that with a couple Dragon Breaths, but it gave me a lot more confidence knowing that the win was locked in. With that, we're halfway through the Elite Four and our worst type matchup is coming up next. Third up is Glacia and her ice types, but after losing Gyarados to Phoebe, I'm not feeling super good about this one. She leads with Glalie and I lead with Swellow. I'm not gonna lie guys, I know I just said that this was gonna be hard, but since we get to abuse the Guts Facade combo, Swellow can pretty safely outspeed and KO this Glalie, then when Glacia sends out Celio second, we can get another pretty easy one-shot without risking our sweeper. Since Glacia has a pretty interesting view on Pokemon diversity, Swellow gets 2 more pretty easy KOs on the second Glalie and the second Celio. And just like that, she's down to her final Pokemon, her ace, Walrein. Swellow's done enough here, so I swapped to Skarmory to tank the incoming neutral Blizzard, but it did way more than I thought it was. Like, let's all relax. I risk a crit by staying in on the next turn and connect with a Toxic, and thankfully we don't get punished since the second Blizzard misses. Our Protect wastes the third PP of Blizzard, then I swap to Pelipper, who's also neutral to ice moves. Did it do a lot of damage? Yes, but at least it was neutral damage. One more Protect wastes Walrein's final Blizzard, and now this thing isn't a huge threat at all. After Pelipper gets some more damage, Glacia wastes a turn using a full restore, so I get a pretty free swap into Salamence, who isn't threatened now that there's no ice moves. From here, we take a few turns to chip down its HP. It was like 10, but I didn't want to type Walrein that many times, so here we are, fast forwarding through some really chill earthquakes. Eventually, Walrein goes down, and the third Elite Four member is done. Let's keep this going. Drake the Dragon-type Master is last up for the Hoenn Elite Four, and I'm feeling pretty good about this one. He leads with Shelgon and I lead with Skarmory. Now, I want you guys to try to figure out the problem with my plan here. Shelgon is kinda trash stats-wise, and Skarmory is super bulky, so I plan to set up 3 layers of spikes, then chip it down until Drake heals and I get a free swap to Pelipper. Sound familiar? Everything goes really according to plan actually, like to the letter. But the thing is, why the f did I set up spikes? The rest of Drake's team is either a flying type or levitating. What a waste of time. Pelipper outspeeds on the next turn and brings down Shelgon with a super effective Ice Beam, but I could have saved approximately 114 words. Sorry about that. Second up is Drake's first Flygon. Why does every Elite Four member but Sydney have a dupe on their team? Like, come on. It is faster than Pelipper, but it only sets up the Sandstorm to help out Drake's 0 Rock-type Pokemon. So we get our second KO of the battle with a 4x super effective Ice Beam. Third up is Altaria, but today we aren't setting up a mirror matchup. It uses Dragon Dance, a great choice if you want to lose this battle. Then Pelipper gets our third KO with another Ice Beam. Fourth up is Flygon number 2, and for the first time in this battle, Drake can actually try to attack me. A Dragon Breath does a bit less than half, then Ice Beam sends Flygon to the Shadow Realm, and that only leaves Salamence left to deal with. I'm a little concerned that we'll die to a critical hit, and then a brilliant idea hits me. Sandstorm's still up for one more turn, and we're really close to activating our Citrus Berry. If we get that to activate, we might survive a crit from the Ace. So, after a quick Protect, Pelipper takes a little bit more chip damage from Sandstorm, and we're literally 1 HP over half. Game, be real with me. You want me to lose this, right? Well, looks like it's all or nothing. Salamence outspeeds and uses a Dragon Claw. That leaves our Ice Beam user on 5 HP. Thank God. Ice Beam finishes off the final Pokemon on Drake's team, and we're one battle away from becoming champion. We walk into the champion's room, and Steven Stone is waiting for us with his team of Steel types. He leads with Skarmory, and I lead with Altaria. We outspeed and connect with a super effective Flamethrower, doing a bit over half to Southwest's Doppelganger. Then it hits a Toxic, poisoning Altaria, but it shouldn't matter too much. One more Flamethrower brings down Steven's lead, and he sends out Claydol second. This thing isn't super threatening to our flying types, but specifically against Skarmory. This gives us a great opportunity to set up spikes for more threatening Pokemon later, so after a few turns, Claydol and its screens go down, and third up is Aggron. It takes 25% from the spikes, then I swap to Salamence to tank the neutral Thunder for like a quarter. It's got super effective Dragon Claw, which could be threatening to us, but we've got 4x super effective Earthquake, which literally destroys the Rock Steel type. We're halfway through Steven's team, and fourth up is Credilli. I don't have a great answer for this, so I'm just going to try to get some damage by hitting a Dragon Claw to bring it down to the yellow. Then a super effective Ancient Power brings our pseudo-legendary down to the red, before our held Citrus Berry gets us a bit of HP back. I feel like a neutral Earthquake can KO from here, but I'm wrong, obviously. Then a second Ancient Power brings down Salamence, which admittedly isn't a great thing. I think Swellow can get a 2-shot KO with the Guts boost now, so after Steven uses a full restore, Facade doesn't do enough. Okay, well, let's steer again. I swap to Skarmory on the next Ancient Power, knocking our tank into the yellow before his held Citrus Berry activates. Protect wastes one more PP, then we hit a Toxic on the next turn, giving me some much needed help with damage. Credilli uses its final PP of Ancient Power, leaving Skarmory at 73 HP and it without any good damaging moves against us. We protect for some more Toxic damage, then connect with a Steel Wing to leave Steven's Grass type with a sliver of HP before it hits a Confuse Ray. That shouldn't really matter, especially because Toxic damage just brings down the first of 2 fossils, making Steven send out the other one next, Armaldo. Spike's damage is huge for us, then Skarmory hits itself in confusion before taking an Ancient Power, knocking us into the red. Okay, I know I said it didn't matter a second ago, but please break through this. Thank you. Toxic provides some last second support for the rest of the team, then our Steel type Staller goes down. Thanks for the spikes. I bring Pelipper out next, then I immediately protect to get some more poison damage. I need all the help I can get, okay? I don't know if it mattered, but on the next turn, Surf secures a KO on Armaldo, and now this is a 3v1 against Steven's terrifying ace, the Pokemon that's ended multiple of my runs in the past, Metagross. I swap Pelipper for Altaria on the incoming Psychic, knocking our last remaining dragon to the yellow before Citrus Berry recovery. Oh, and also, Altaria has Natural Cure, that's why she's not poisoned anymore. Just FYI. We outspeed on the next turn and use Perish Song, giving me a clear win condition as Metagross responds with a Meteor Mash, bringing Altaria down. I'm surprised that I actually got the kill there. I bring Pelipper in now, and this is where the battle will be decided. Protect drops Metagross's Perish count to 2, and now we're probably risking a crit. Swellow doesn't have Protect on her, which is, in hindsight, kinda stupid. If we get crit and die here, this run might be dead in the water. Metagross fires off a Psychic that leaves Pelipper with 59 HP. Thank God. From here, Pelipper uses Fly to be invulnerable for a turn, then does some pretty useless damage before Metagross succumbs to the Perish Song. With that, Steven is defeated, we're the new champion of Hoenn, and we've officially beaten a Pokemon Ruby Hardcore Nuzlocke with only flying types. Thanks guys so much for watching this one. I'll be like totally honest, this might be my favorite script I've ever written. I love some of the jokes that I made here. I was laughing to myself like a freak in a coffee shop while I was writing it. So if you liked it, please like the video so I can get some self-respect back. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. It really boosts my morale when I'm in the editing dungeon, and comment any runs you want to see below. Until next time guys, I've been Palm and Peace, or just P for short, and I'll see you next time.